and welcome. My name is Dana. I'm the dietitian at Lifescape Premier, and today I am presenting the Healthy Kitchens, Healthy Lives cooking demonstration. For those of you who are cooking along, you have your ingredients gathered and ready to go. We're going to start combining in just a few minutes, and before we do that, I wanted to direct you to two different things, or share two different things with you. For those of you who've been to my classes, you know that I like to always open up with something that helps us settle in and maybe inspire and connect. And so with that being said, I was fortunate enough to have some time this morning before work to tap into one of my favorite podcasts. I've mentioned it before, but if you've not heard me, it's called Meditative Stories, and it's a Weight Watch original with partnership with Thrive Global, which is Ariana Huffington's company. And they provide a cinematic experience for about 30 minutes where there's a first person telling the story, and they intersperse it with the most beautiful, emotionally enhancing music and meditative moments. And so this particular episode is called Our Tiny Meaningful Lives in the Vast Universe. And they've featured it before, and they brought it back because it's really important in this time and what's going on in our lives. And so I encourage you to take some time out for yourselves this holiday weekend and try it out. It's really, really well worthwhile. And then the second thing I wanted to share is an experience I had this morning where I was walking in the park early with my dog. And before we stepped onto the path, I stopped for a minute and I noticed how green and lush the grass was on either side of the walkway, and how the birds were singing up ahead, and the canopy of the trees, which are quite mature, had grown together and created a nice shade area for us to walk through. And I felt my shoulders coming down a little bit more off my ears, and took a big deep breath and started through the park with a different mindset than I had entered into it. And so I'm sharing that with you because we all can take a few minutes before we start cooking to do that big breath and that settling in, so that we shift the energy. Maybe you're rushing beforehand or on a phone call or watching the news, and don't bring that energy with you into the kitchen. Just let it go for a brief time, and you'll find that your food tastes better and you'll have a better experience in the kitchen when you're doing that. So with that being said, today we're making a really simple recipe, but simple is not wrong. It's actually fantastic. And so this one is a papaya and avocado salsa. And as you guys know, the ones who've been in my classes live and have watched them over the last several months virtually, I oftentimes will introduce different ingredients to offer you something new to tap into. And so this one, instead of papaya, which wasn't easily available at the Sprouts store where I like to go, there were mangoes. And so I've already pre-cut this one because it takes a bit of time to cut a mango. You have to cut off the skin and then carefully slice away from the really big pit in the middle. And so with that being said, I did sneak up a bite of it when I was cutting, and it's so sweet and delicious. Mango is a tropical fruit, so be cautious with this if you tend to run higher blood sugars. And keep in mind that as you eat it in concert or combination with other foods, it slows down that quick rise in blood glucose. So although we may be tempted to just eat this with the spoon, it's so good, let's mix it with everything else so that we can have a tasty dish. So I'm just going to add this into our mixing bowl here. Try to show you everything that's off camera. And you can also substitute pineapple for this as well. And I saw some really beautiful pineapples at the North Scottsdale Farmers Market. I've mentioned that one before. Here we go. It's close to where I live, and maybe close to you as well. It's on Alma School and in between Dynamite and Happy Valley. And they're open on Saturdays from 7 to 10 in the morning. And you can also get a box made for you in advance, so you can just come in and pick that up and off you go. So we're going to start out with that. And then the next ingredient is red bell pepper, and I always try to buy organic because these are often on the dirty dozen list from the Environmental Working Group, and that means that they are more likely to be sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, which we don't want in our bodies as much as possible because that increases our toxic load and taxes our immune systems. And so I was just able to wash off the skin and chop that all up. And as you can see, there's a fine dice here. And that's important because when you're having a salsa, you want all the ingredients about the same size so that it creates a really nice mouthfeel and blends all the flavors appropriately. So I'm going to just add this over here into the mango. And already we can see that we've got some colors coming up. And I can mix it in the air for you guys to see how that looks. And you can substitute, if you don't like red bell pepper, you could put in orange bell pepper or green, or you could go a whole different route and use pomegranate seeds. Or you can do both. It's up to you. So there's that to think about. And then the next thing I want to do is add in some cilantro. And you either like cilantro or you don't. And it's actually a genetic variation, meaning some people are genetically programmed to taste cilantro as sweet, and some people taste it as like dirt or bitter. And so I fortunately like it, and it tastes very sweet to me. And this smells amazing. This was also from the farmer's market, and really abundant. So the way you can cut this is you can shave the fresh leaves off like you're cutting hair, and that way, and I'm just going to do that down here, when you're doing that, you don't get the stems in there. Now it's fine for you to have stems, they're full of nutrients and no problem, but you may find that other people don't find that texture to be as enjoyable. So then you come down to the nub, and I do have one friend who is actually a fantastic cook, and he's very, very patient, probably more patient than me. And he will actually pick off all the leaves with his fingers one by one, and I think it's therapy for him. So if you need a little bit of calming time and you want to maybe listen to that meditative story while you're picking off cilantro leaves, then absolutely, yes, go ahead and go for it. So I'm just sorting through the stems that did come off while I was cutting, and taking the big pieces out right now. Cilantro is amazing for detoxification. If any of you were just in the recent 10-day Metabolic Reset and Renew program, you know that was one of the big goals of the program, and we were doing it through food. And so parsley and cilantro are top of the list as fresh herbs that support the detoxification cycle. So lots of benefits there. Not to mention, it'll really make your kitchen smell good. And that's part of the whole joy of cooking for me, is that it really enhances the smells in the house and draws people into the kitchen. And as you all know, the kitchen is the gathering place of the household. You might have 4 people in the house, and you'll find that they're all on top of each other in the kitchen, wanting to know what's happening. So I have this all chopped up, and let me hold it up so you can see. Just a nice fine dice right there. And then using the knife not on the blade side, because when you scrape your blade on your cutting board, you dull it, and you don't want to do that. So I just turn it to the other side, and I use it to just nice and gently move the cilantro off and into the dish. Voila! So I'm just going to mix this all up together, and now we can start seeing our rainbow coming up, which is nice because we eat with our eyes first, and my eyes are telling me that this looks really beautiful and engaging. All right, so then we're closing in on the ingredient list. So the next thing I want to do is, actually we'll go here. So this is a Hass avocado, and some of you may know this by recognizing the texture of it, that it's dark and a little bit bumpy, and sometimes it's referred to as an alligator pear fruit. I don't know if anyone's heard of that or not, but it's because it has the skin kind of like an alligator, and it's shaped like a pear. So I thought that was a fun fact. And with the avocado, I want to feature this as the main ingredient in the dish. And the reason why is because the benefits of eating this are astronomical. There is a caveat, of course, and some people do find that avocado bothers them. But in general, I find that most people over time really do well with adding some avocado to their diet. One of the reasons why is because it's really rich in a monounsaturated fat called oleic acid. And some of you may have had that tested if you've ever undergone a SpectraCell test. That may have popped up on your results. And oleic acid is really important for damping down inflammation. And as we all know, inflammation is the root cause of pretty much everything that we don't want to have happen to us. And so as we lower inflammation, we can also see the body improving LDL cholesterol. That's the low density lipoproteins that can sometimes get stuck in the artery walls and oxidize and cause blockages. And it also can help decrease cancer-causing proteins from developing. So it could be considered an anti-cancer food, which is always beneficial. It can help prevent cognitive decline by nourishing the brain. That oleic acid or monounsaturated fats are well received by the cells in the brain. It's also been known to help improve weight control, and it does that by increasing the body's sensitivity to insulin. So, wow, what a great list of things that we can think about in terms of just eating this one beautiful little fruit. And then a couple more benefits I want to point out is it's got as much potassium in it as a banana without any of the sugar. So a nice substitute there. And then it's 25% soluble fiber and 75% insoluble. And the reason I bring up those differences because each fiber has a different role in the body. So soluble fiber helps provide fuel for the bacteria in our guts to thrive and help us thrive. And insoluble fiber helps kind of scrub out the inside of the lining of the intestine as we need to do every single day and improve bowel regularity. And then finally, it helps regulate metabolic health. So with that being said, I have a few more tips, but I want to cut this up. And the way I do it is I take the knife and I find the place where it was in the plant and I just slice it straight down the middle and just score it all the way around. And when it's nice and ripe like this one, you can feel the ripeness by just pressing just gently with your thumb, twist and remove. And you can see, lucky for us, we got a beautiful one. And then this is a cook's tip, is you can then slice inside the shell because avocados are slippery once you take them out. So you can use that alligator skin for grip. And so I'm just slicing lengthwise and then crisscrossing the other way like a checkerboard. And then once that's all done, you can see the crisscrosses there. Then I'll just take the spoon and I'm just going to just scoop underneath and out it goes. Really easy and clean and fantastic. Sometimes a little piece of this will end up in my dog's mouth, just a little piece here and there. But this calls for a cup of avocado in the recipe. You can always adjust to your taste. I'm not sure if that's a cup, it might be a little bit less. You can see it here, and then I'll just take the spoon and break it up. And you can add more or less depending on your taste. And then some people say, well, what if I make the salsa and it doesn't get all consumed? Will it go bad? Well, it could, but here's the thing that's going to help you is, this actually looks perfect, is we're going to add two things now that will keep that from happening. One is citrus. So this is a lime. I'm going to slice it in half. And when you put citrus juice on the surface of an avocado, it keeps it from turning brown as fast. And so this is my ever favorite tool in the kitchen, the citrus squeeze. And so I'm just going to squeeze and tip, and then one more time, switch out to the next one. So you can see how it just goes right there in the middle. And then See how the juice just comes right through? And then I always tip it at the end because I find that sometimes they're especially juicy and you don't want to lose any of that goodness. So I tip it over like that just to be sure I haven't missed out. And then you can add some pink Himalayan salt. I love this salt, it's my favorite. And I can really taste a difference when I eat something that is salted with traditional, just even regular sea salt. So give this a go. And it's a 1/4 teaspoon. And you can measure that if you feel more comfortable, or you can sprinkle a little bit on and then taste it. And then we also want to add in some olive oil. I thought I'd show this one to you because it's the Bragg's brand, and this is the one we all are familiar with in terms of apple cider vinegar. They also make this unrefined, unfiltered, extra virgin olive oil, just another option for you out there. And so then I'm going to just drizzle in. The recipe calls for a tablespoon, so more or less we'll do that. And you can see we've already created this fantastic, beautiful, luscious salsa. And then you can taste it for preference and decide if you want to add a little more salt or not. You can also modify this or adapt it, and you could add some chopped garlic. You could add in some diced red onion. You can eat it just as it is. So lots of different ways to do it. And as you can see, making salsa yourself at home is incredibly easy and really fantastic. So the salsa can be added to a variety of dishes in different ways. You can use it on top of a protein, like I love mixing this with fish tacos. I buy the wild-caught frozen mahi-mahi at Costco. They sell it in individual containers, and then I'll cook one of those containers of fish, individual servings, and then shred it up like fish taco and put this in on top of it. And wow, is that delicious. You can also use it on, if you wanted to do like a bed of like mixed wild rice and basmati brown. You could put some shrimp on there and then do the salsa on top. And then you can also, if you want, you can dip things in it. So I wanted to show you some options of what you might be able to dip in there. Usually I'm all about the vegetables, and I still am, but it is the holiday weekend, so I wanted to show you an option of something that you can consider trying. And this is the brand Siete, and they make these grain-free tortilla chips. And so for special occasions, once in a while, it's nice to have something different, crunchy. It is a holiday coming up. And so these are made with cassava flour, which is a root vegetable, very low glycemic. And then it's cooked in avocado oil, which is some of the healthier oil to have at a higher temperature. And then sprinkled with coconut flour, chia seeds, and sea salt. So this is, they have a couple different flavors, but I always go for the plain flavor. So once in a while, this might be something that you can experiment with. And this is what they look like. And so this is obviously a nice, easy dipping companion for here, for the salsa. But you can also slice up fresh cucumber, jicama, radishes, celery, and those are easily dipped in there as well. So lots of different ways to enjoy the salsa. There's a real important point I want to make here though, and it goes along with the whole idea of why adding some olive oil into the dish. And the reason why is that these ingredients are rich, especially the avocado, in fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. And in order for us to absorb those vitamins from our food, we have to have some fat along with it. And that also helps us absorb antioxidants in the food. And one of the cool facts that I found when I was thinking about this recipe is that when you add avocado and some oil to a salsa mix, you increase the antioxidant absorption in your body up to 15 times greater than if you did not. So, wow, I mean, talk about getting a small amount of food and a big amount of nutrition. That's a really nice way to do it. So with that being said, I don't know if there's any questions. I haven't seen anything come up so far, but I want you to enjoy experimenting with this recipe. And like I said, you can do all kinds of different substitutions If you don't like one ingredient, you can do another. If you want to make it like sort of a powwow celebration, you can put all the stuff in there, meaning the onions, the garlic, pomegranate seeds. I've used those in the past just from buying them frozen in the grocery store and defrosting them and then mixing them in, so you don't have to mess with trying to pull all the seeds out of the fruit itself. And that's perfectly fine. We talked about shortcuts in the 10-day program, and there are healthy shortcuts out there, and they're totally acceptable to take, because eating whole food based sometimes takes some time. And so if something can be done otherwise to save you time on one side or the other, why not do it? So I really appreciate all of you tuning in today, and want to hear about your salsa mixes. If any of you find some different combinations or want to snap a few pictures, just go ahead and post them in the Brilliant Health community, and that helps us inspire each other and stay connected, and that's really important right now. So at this moment, I'll sign off and thank everybody for their time today watching, and stay tuned for the next Healthy Kitchens class. It'll be happening in August, which will be here before we know it. And in the meantime, know that I'm always here as a resource at Lifescape, and am happy to help you. I am mostly virtual at this point, and I'm glad to connect with you via video or phone call. So until then, have a very safe and enjoyable holiday weekend. And as always, be well.